Hello everybody, it's the me, GamePing21, and today, this is like my 15th time trying to record this video because I just can't get the script down right in this intro bit or anything. But we're going to talk about today Couple of Fools, which had a video on the whole thing with Xbox and what he liked and what he didn't like about it. Now, what's interesting about this scenario is that unlike most people who just or most PlayStation fanboys, I should say, who just blindly hate on it, he actually went out and tried it. Well, technically speaking, he didn't. It was more of just someone else got it for him, but at the same time it was just back and forth. So yes, in the end what happened was he looked at the pros and cons of both PlayStation and Xbox and actually decided that there were certain things that he liked about Xbox, and then rather than what most people did, some of the PlayStation fanboys decided to come into his comments and essentially just make him apparently quote-unquote regret that he left the community and say that he's a traitor. Quite an interesting turn of events, and one of the reasons why this channel stands with don't be a fanboy, because you're going to end up in one of these videos. Now, obviously, I don't just talk about this, and again, I will get to the salt, which is more of the comment section of the first video in the latter half of this video, because I just wanted to talk about it. But to talk over the story more specifically, let's go into the fine details. But before we get into that, if you like what it is I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down in the description below, as well as to hit that like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. But with that being said, let's start off with what happened originally. The first thing is that he made a video titled PlayStation Fanboy Reacts to the First Time Playing on the Xbox Series X, with in big letters on the thumbnail of this saying that he was wrong. Now, the story behind how he acquired an Xbox Series X was it actually wasn't him who bought it. It was more of his wife, because his wife was concerned that he wasn't be able to play the Elder Scrolls games in case they were, exclusive to Xbox, to which he was then saying, well, I have 2 years of Game Pass, might as well see what the heck is up with gaming on the Xbox side to just actually see it. And lo and behold, he said that he actually had some things that we liked about the game. Things like the quick resume function, which is actually pretty solid, as well as several other functions of that. He goes into more detail. If you want more, I'll probably link his original video in the links in the description, as well as just the channel in general, if you want more context on this whole situation. Now, it is quite interesting to note that this was one of his first videos that actually really tended to pop off for the size of his channel, because I believe at the time he had like around, I think, 5 to 6K people, so having a video pop up with 46K views is quite interesting. Now again, I don't know the specifics, I don't care about the specifics, the numbers don't matter. This video popped off and was in my recommended. Now, a couple of people decided to then cover this because of the comment section in this. Because he not only then went on to create an interesting sequel talking about how the PlayStation fanboys attacked him with the same thing, which was about a week-ish later on the same channel, because this thumbnail just kind of makes sense here, and I think he was then talking about the backlash that he actually had with the PlayStation community there. He then also then talks about the Xbox community and how they've actually been truly special. Now, what's interesting to note is that most of the comments that I think that he would bring up in this video aren't necessarily people in the Xbox camp. I don't know any of these people, but it's basically just that the majority of people outside of the representation, or the people that I'm going to be talking about in this video, were actually very nice about him actually having a very honest opinion, rather than him, just shitting on it just to shit on it. But he then talks about, of course, the Xbox community. This then got so much more, talking about people, how the Halo and people meeting for it, because he then made a video on Halo and how people were then hating on him for that, quite interestingly. Then Fratanga then decides to tweet about this, which, very interesting that this made it to Fratanga's whole thing. He then, I think, made a video on it as well. I don't have the thumbnail here, but also he then decides to do the reacting to the extreme PlayStation fanboy comments, which I'm fairly certain got a ton of people upsetty spaghetti over that. So he's done that as well. I'll probably link this one in there as well, because if you like this video, go and watch that other video, because he'll probably cover more like recent comments and other comments and stuff. But the most important update and the most interesting update in this is that he went on to Fratanga Plays, like his podcast, and decided to actually talk to the dude behind it. I didn't watch any of this live stream, but the VOD is probably there. I'll probably also link Fritz's video in the description below. but I think that's enough backstory for today. Again, like I said at the top of the video, this is mostly going to be videos talking about the first video that he made on this, because that's where I pulled most, if not all, of these comments from, because they were the most saltiest and they were the most raw when this whole thing kind of initially started. It should really give you an idea as to what the majority of the people who would probably be in the comment section of these exact videos would probably say when under the duress. Starting, of course, off with CMake7128 with a saying, "Man, don't do it, it's a trap." I don't think that this one is actually salty. I think that this one is more of just the warning comment, because there are some people out there who actually do watch out for people who like me, because I remember I got this on my Synthetic Man video, which, by the way, I will make a Synthetic Man video at some point, but that video is going completely down on the list because as of right now I still need to kind of gather up the comments and things because reasons. With all that being said, let's continue. Talking, of course, with Clavic here, Clavic, I don't know how you pronounce that, saying, "You lost me when you said the Xbox pad was better than the DualSense." He did say that specifically. To give my own personal opinion, I never really liked how PlayStation had their two thumbsticks all the way at the bottom. I personally like how the comfortability of the Xbox One, not the Xbox One, but the Xbox controller. That's just a personal thing. I never really owned a PlayStation 1, but I never really thought that it was that way. And he also did point out that the PlayStation 1 was gimmicky and that it wasn't used on anything outside of several other games, which I think we'll get into more toward the end of this video. But continuing on here, we have Xbox is the same games on PC. Simple. So Xbox is not needed! Exclamation point. And for some, and for sure not the best console, N. He never said that it was the best console in the actual video. He actually made a more nuanced opinion, saying that he still likes PlayStation and will still play a lot on the PlayStation, but he has this new toy of the Xbox that has a lot of things that he enjoyed, or at least a few things that he enjoyed that set it apart from the PlayStation. It was a very nuanced and very neutral type of opinion, saying one's not better than the other, but both of them have pros and cons that he actually enjoys, which I, for one, can completely agree with. So, yeah, quite interesting. Next up here, we have James with a, "Guys, quick resume is just a fancy word Xbox came up with for standby. Honestly, think there is something wrong with people that can't just wait the minute or two it takes to boot up a console." I mean, okay, but you can do it to multiple games, and it just puts the game into a mode where, you know, if you want to come back to it at some other point, you know, you won't, like, lose your place. It's like save states in a game, kind of, which is kind of a big thing, at least in terms of emulation. And, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's bad. I do hate that I have to compile shaders a little bit, but I'm down for waiting that. But, again, like I said before, and like he says in his video, both have some interesting pros and cons, but he just prefers the quick resume because that's just what he likes to have, I guess, because it's one of those things where it's that. So next up here, we have a few tweet threads, or not tweet threads, but a few threads of comments from one Blitzy Blake XXX here, who had a very strange opinion that we will dissect in a little bit here. So let's start off with the top comment saying, "You say you've talked a lot of crap about Xbox, and you're right, because they are still crap, and they still make you pay to play online. Come on, dude, don't pay attention to all their flashy crap. Look at the actual gimmick they're giving. They're making you pay to play online. PlayStation is completely free. Xbox still sucks. Come on, bro." Now, of course, we know that everyone who knows the console space knows that every single console makes you pay to play online, for people like Nintendo, for people like Xbox, and yes, even PlayStation. Now, he does bring up eventually PlayStation Plus. I'm not going to go through it. Someone does try to correct him where he says last time he checked that was you don't have to play online on PlayStation because you can boot up something like Call of Duty. Now, again, you can pause and read this as I'll just talk over the general synopsis that I just gave as what happens here. But essentially, you still have to pay for PlayStation Plus, which PlayStation Plus is the online thing to play the multiplayer, unless you are playing a free-to-play game, at which point you don't have to pay to play online, which would be a point in PlayStation's favor if Xbox also didn't do the exact same effing thing. Overall, it is just a strange thing entirely to just say, yeah, PlayStation, you don't have to pay to play online at all, which is probably true if you were talking about the PS3, but the PS4 and PS5, you have to pay to play online. That's just a thing that you have to do. Same thing for Xbox. It's not a pro or a con between the two. He then goes on to not only triple down, but also quadruple down with this whole opinion, talking about saying he's played both sides and Xbox is, and to the absolutely know the differences between it, where the fact you have to pay to play online for Xbox and they own a PlayStation and you don't have to pay on there. Again, and he doesn't understand what you're saying, where he says true, but you still have to pay for all these other things, which again is still very true, paying for cloud saves and other stuff like that. And here's the weird comeback that I think he thinks was somehow a gotcha for whatever reason, saying how, well, I'm not going to argue with you, and I'm definitely not going to take advice from someone who makes a video that looks like he's inbred. I'm not sure if he confused him for the person in the actual video or if he just went to his channel and watched his videos. I don't know, but before, while I could understand that you were being kind of a little bit obtuse and maybe just denial of the truth, that's just being kind of a dick, just throwing out that insult of being inbred, just a little bit, have a little class, my guy, have a little class. But moving on to Twizzly, I guess, Twizzlets, something like that. With I'll be honest with you, Xbox Ones are doing the exact same thing as the Xbox Series X. If you have the last gen, there is no point in buying a new Xbox. As for Game Pass, it's everywhere, and I'm pretty sure it's coming to PlayStation. No, Xbox One has ceased all means of having games on there, because while yes, you can have Game Pass on there, I'm not sure all the games are like cross-compatible with Xbox One. So yeah, the Xbox Series X is also a fair bit more powerful than the Xbox One from my knowledge on how the actual specs of the sheets work, but also he didn't buy it. His wife bought it for him and got him 2 years of Xbox Game Pass along with it. So, he's got a couple of years where he doesn't really have to pay much because it's already all paid for by his loving wife, which, by the way, that wife is 100% a keeper because she was concerned that you weren't going to be able to play your favorite video games. That is a based wife. I am so happy about that. Give her hugs and kisses, and definitely if you see this video, a couple of fools, that's a keeper right there, 100%. Anyway, moving on to Xbox has no games 2666 here, which fucking already tells you the thing here, saying shitbox is cancer, find a better way to flag up your failed channel. Despite the fact that this actually, I think, revived his channel, because most of those screenshots were, if you look at the time to when they were posted versus when they were like the view counts at the time, it's actually quite interesting how some of them were posted for like 10 to 15 minutes and got like 1K views. That's pretty insane. That's almost like one view every like minute or two, or maybe even like 10 views every minute or two. I don't even fucking know. But saying I do like this funny here, because he says that shitbox is cancer, but yet insults Xbox by using the term shitbox, and also is a PlayStation fanboy, which if you've seen on this channel, PlayStation fanboys have done everything from harassment to doxing for differing opinions. So yeah, and again, the majority of the Xbox people and the majority of PC guys haven't really done that, as far as I can tell. So it's like, the shitbox is cancer. Sure it is, buddy. Whoa, here kind of coming in with a very quick one of just traitor. And, I think that's what most of these PlayStation Extreme fanboys would basically come out to say, and they're essentially saying that he's a traitor to the cause and the Sony is great, so you know what, whatever. Now, Panther Crane here comes in here with a very interesting comment saying, the same clowns commenting positively about Xbox Series are the same clowns that are talking shit about it. I can't make this up. Now, I won't say that this is wrong or correct, but the thing is that this is someone who was on the Sony side and then just decided to play the Xbox game side and then came out with a more nuanced opinion saying that he doesn't owe things with them. And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, he was talking shit about it. He was talking positively about it now, but he wasn't talking shit about it. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what this comment's about, but I wanted to talk about it. Now, just a bunch of random letters that you smash your face on the keyboard. Says Xbox fanboy is coping hard here now. Great game in over a decade. Third console behind the PlayStation, and all of Xbox games are going to PlayStation. Wake up, game. The shitbox is dying. Throw out the batteries and get your Fire 6 cheaper than owning that pile of wasted shite. With him saying, okay. I don't really have anything to add to that. I think that was an amazing clapback. Moving on. Moving on to another one who has the same sort of thing, saying you sold out. And this is what I think a lot of people don't seem to understand. And what I think that him, along with most of the other people who have been quote-unquote converted to other platforms because they have, like, there has to be some sort of loyalty for whatever reason, I think that I agree with what he says in this thing. I don't know how, when I have a PlayStation still, lol, I mean, I just got a PSVR 2, lol. I don't owe PlayStation loyalty as a main console. Get a grip. That last one I agree with the most. It's like, you don't owe PlayStation anything outside of the commerce that you already gave them. You don't invest, unless you're like a heavily investor into the company, which I don't really think so. Next up here, we have Can't Get Right 888 with dude, that Xbox talk ain't nothing. I sold all that week-ish back to GameStop. $200 for the console. Sony regular DualSense controller, more advanced than the weak Xbox Elite controller. You bots are full of it. Sony Edge controller is 10 times better. Anyway, now he goes into this and talks about the controllers again, which, again, I think I'll talk about this later because there's a big comment there that I really wanted to sink my teeth into. But saying that the Xbox ain't nothing and like all that Xbox thing, but then calls him a bot because he's an I don't get how he can come out and say, I used to talk a lot of shit about this thing. And you can look through his channel, and he used to talk a lot of shit about Xbox and stuff. But then he tries it and realizes, oh, it's not as bad as I said. And in fact, there are things that I like about it, and things that I think that other consoles and manufacturers should adopt because I think that the choice is interesting. And he became to have a more nuanced opinion. This reminds me of like a couple of different political people who have done the same thing, where one person was, it was actually a couple of feminists, if I remember correctly. I don't remember the specifics, but there was one person who made a documentary called The Red Pill, where she essentially was going to talk about, I think, abortion, and ended up coming across the men's rights movement, which then she made an entire documentary doing a research on this, being like, oh, I'm going to expose this movement and stuff, and then just decided, I'm not a feminist anymore because I see the problems that have plaguing both sides, and it's not as black and white as I originally thought. There are a lot of shades of gray. So the last comment before we get into the final two here, from WXLord974, talking about how you're delusional. We'll go through this bit by bit because it's a lot to go through, so let's just get through this. Saying they never implemented DualSense features. Are you even a gamer? Did you play Spider-Man, God of War, Returnal, Horizon, Ghosts of Tsushima, Gran Turismo 7, Demon's Souls, or any of the 2,000 other supported titles? Now, here's the thing. While, yes, there might be support for the DualSense in a way, what he's talking about is the gimmicks that the DualSense presented, things like the rumble and things like other stuff, saying like, oh yes, all of these 2,000 games are supported by it. They're also supported on the PC as well, because, they had the code implemented in there. And if you just buy a PC or a PlayStation controller and put it onto your PC games, the same thing. But notice a lot of the games that he front listed there. Things such as Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon, Gran Turismo, Ghosts of Tsushima. All of those are one thing: PlayStation first titles, and things such as Astrobot also fall under this category. Yes, they utilize the controller to the best of their abilities, but you could still do a lot of the same things with a lot of the same controllers, because once those ones came to PC, you could use an Xbox controller. You just wouldn't have the actual usage of other controllers there. What I find the most funny about this as well is the sheer fact that the original Spider-Man was actually deemed Steam Deck compatible and had some configurations with motion controls on the Steam Deck. I will never get over that. That's kind of fucking awesome and a little bit based. Anyway, moving on, saying, calling quick resume life-changing. Are you so impatient and waiting 8 seconds to switch games is unbearable? He never said that it was unbearable. It's just that he thought that this was the innovation that he kind of wanted, where he could switch between at least some of the single-player games. Because to him, that was really cool, because losing your place in a game kind of sucks. And that implementation was really good for him. And, that's his personal thing, saying that it's life-changing for him. It was one of those things that he didn't know that he wanted until he had it. With Xbox porting its entire catalog, Elder Scrolls 6 is undoubtedly beyond PlayStation, just like Soccer 2 and Indiana Jones. Now, while that might be true, we don't know specifically, because Starfield also doesn't seem to be coming out on PlayStation anytime soon, or at least there wasn't an announcement for it. I don't know. I don't keep up with Starfield news. I just played through it and was fine. One thing that you will also say here is that he didn't buy the Xbox. It was his wife that did that, and the wife probably isn't as invested in the PlayStation or console war ecosystem. She just thought of her husband missing out on a game franchise specifically that he enjoyed. Again, like I said before, based wife, she's a keeper. And the last thing here saying, I get this is your take, why'd you make the comment, but your content is straight up delusional. Blowing smoke up Microsoft's ass is exactly why they think it's acceptable to release mediocrity. You won't find a competitor that holds a candle to the incredible titles on PlayStation. I love this. I love how you can literally take this entire last 2 sentences of blowing smoke up Microsoft's ass and stuff and just flip around Microsoft with Xbox and like PlayStation with Xbox and stuff. Like you can flip those around to the other side and have someone have that exact same thought on the other side and it still be correct to them because it's their own opinion. And it's just really funny to me how he's saying, oh yeah, blowing smoke up Microsoft's ass, despite the fact that if you look at the rest of his content, he didn't really like Microsoft or Xbox before he tried it. So I just find it very strange how you can look at this and think, oh yes, this dude's a bot or whatever. Anyway, the last two here are the ones that I kind of wanted to talk about the least, but were the most interesting because they basically say the duality of man, as I call it here, with El Sapo saying, you never were a PlayStation fanboy because real fanboys don't badmouth Xbox. This video and most of my other channel videos would beg to disagree for fanboyism. And the last one is one that I just completely agree with and I think is the best way to end off this video. That is one from Andy Anderplanatsky 8516. I think I fucked that name up very badly. But he says, fanboyism is always wrong because you are limiting yourself. Fucking take this and post that on my wall of just based as fuck tweets. Holy moly, we got a good one, at least in this video. There were, again, this doesn't represent all of the comments that he got on that video. This represents a very, small minority, but a very small and vocal minority of people who were just completely trying to make this dude out to be some sort of villain, despite the fact that he, when he got new information, he actually liked that information and liked, actually, the whole thing with Xbox and PlayStation and stuff like that, and just decided to, start making Xbox content because, he had a bunch of years to catch up on. But anyway, I think that'll about do it for this episode of I Rant Into a Microphone for a very long amount of time. If you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. Like I said, Couple of Fools, the channel, and the video that this originally started, where I pulled all the comments from, will both be in the description below because he makes some okay content, not my personal favorite commentary type stuff, but I do think that he does have some very good opinions, and that those opinions have slowly been, eroded away as he's gotten more and more information, and I can appreciate when someone admits when they're wrong. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and a peace. Off.